Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Kunja Bihare Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Yasodhanandana Praja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Praja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Yasodhanandana Praja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Praja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnanjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapatakamallam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sargana Raghunatamritam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sakitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagala Lalita Shri Vishakanitam Sha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschata Satarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Giram Yat Kripatam Ham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pratayata Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvize Namaha Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So again, we'd like to warmly welcome you to here. And today the temple is celebrating a very important event that took place over 510 years ago in West Bengal. It is 20 kilometers. It's called as Pani Hati Chida Dadi Mahotsav. Dadi or Dahi, both are meaning the same. It means it's yogurt, but Dadi is more of a Sanskrit term, whereas Dahi is more common term that is being used today. So this is a festival that took place about 510 years ago in West Bengal, in a place called Panihati, which is 20 kilometers north of Calcutta. Panihati. And then chida is chipped rice. So for those of you who are regularly cooking, you'll know chida means chipped rice, or it's also called as poha. Does that name ring a bell? Poha. So poha is something that was used at that time, and it was a massive festival that was conducted. And the architect behind this wonderful function was Raghunath Das Goswami. So he is one of the 6 Goswamis that we know in our tradition. So we have Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and then Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So we have 6 Goswamis. So Goswami means, anybody? Goswami.
Master of senses.
Yeah, Go means it can be cows as well as senses. So master of senses. Prabhupada explains this again and again. So Goswami means one who's mastered the senses with the help of the mind. And then Godasa is the opposite. Godasa means one who's a servant of the senses because the senses have mastered the mind. So Goswami versus Godasa. So one of the 6 Goswamis, Raghunath Das Goswami, and he's the person behind this wonderful festival. That anniversary was actually yesterday, and we are celebrating today. And throughout the Vaishnava tradition and temples, this wonderful festival was either celebrated yesterday or today during Sunday feast programs across, I would say, the world, not just in India. So he was mastering his senses through his mind. And we'll read one of the fabulous verses from Bhagavad Gita. Of course, any verse from Bhagavad Gita is great, but then we'll read one verse that has got, that can be very general, but is the secret formula for success. So this is, meant for anybody, man, women, rich, poor, black, white, American, Ethiopian, does not matter. So there is no religious tinge to it, but it's a secret formula for success. And the reason we are reading this is it aligns so well with Raghunath Das Goswami's character, who's a personification of this particular verse that we are going to read. Again, it's an open secret. It's available in Bhagavad Gita, that is available for everybody. So we'll read this verse, which is common to you, and you would have known this very well as well. So we'll read from the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The verse is number 5. Uttaredatmanatmanam. Oh, sorry, you want to distribute the books? So I will read this so that you get used to it if you are not memorized this particular verse, and then we'll read it together, or you can repeat after me. The page is 261. If you have the same version of Bhagavad Gita, 261, and the verse is 6.5, chapter 6, verse 5. Okay, all of you have that? Uttaredatmanatmanam Natmanam avasadayet Atmaivai Atmano Bandhur Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. Little louder, so Uttaredatmanatmanam Natmanam avasadayet Atmaivai Atmano Bandhur Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. Once more. Uttaredatmanatmanam Natmanam avasadayet Atmaivai Atmano Bandhur Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. So we hear one from Prabhu's and one from Mataji, so that we get used to this verse more.
Uttarir atmanatmanam
Uttaredatmanatmanam
natmanam avasade
Atmanam avasadayet
atmaiva hi atmano bandhu
Atmaiva Atmano Bandhu
atmaiva vipu atmana
Atmaiva Ripuratmana. Any Matajis? Uttaredatmanatmanam
Atmanam avasadaye.
Atmanam avasadayet
Atmaivi Atmano Bandhur.
Atmaiva Atmano Bandhu
Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha.
Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. So I'm going to go directly to the translation. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So very, very beautiful verse. Again, that even if somebody is an atheist, he may not be into any religious denomination, does not matter. This applies to everybody, applies to all human beings, anywhere, anytime. So we'll read this together so you can repeat after me. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. The word Atma denotes body, mind and soul depending upon different circumstances. In the yoga system, the mind and the conditioned soul are especially important. Since the mind is the central point of yoga practice, Atma refers here to the mind. The purpose of the yoga system is to control the mind and to draw it away from attachment to sense objects. It is stressed herein that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mire of nescience. In material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because of the mind is involved with a false ego which desires to lord it over material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of the material nature, and in this way the conditioned soul may be saved. One should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense objects. The more one is attracted by sense objects, the more one becomes entangled in material existence. The best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. The word he is used for emphasizing this point. That is, that one must do this. It is also said, Mane eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo bandhaya vishaya sango muktyai nivishayam manaha. For man, mind is the cause of bondage and mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense objects is the cause of bondage, and mind detached from the sense objects is the cause of liberation. This is from Atma Bindu Upanishad. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. So again, for those of you who joined us a little late, so we're reading from Bhagavad Gita 6.5. Uttaret atmanatmanam natmanam avasadet atmaiva atmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmanaha. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is a friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So we'll try to understand the actual translation and then parts of this purport as well. So this is a takeaway for all of us. Again, this is a very significant verse that is applicable to everybody. So here it says, one must deliver himself and not degrade himself. So here, the word one and himself refers to us, but more than the body, to the soul that is encaged within this body. So when it says himself or oneself and one, it is to the soul that is encaged within the body. So one must deliver. So what do we mean by deliver? So for, Matajis are here, we are all born to a mother. So we say the mother delivered the child. You know how significant it is. It is not an easy task. There has to be a lot of austerity, pain, and practice, etc. Right? So similarly, one must deliver himself. So it's not like a flip of a switch where you flip the switch and the light is on or the fan is on. So it's a work in progress, right? It's a process in place, and that's what it says one must deliver. So deliver is practice, constant practice. It's a process, it's a progress, little by little that we have to practice on a daily basis. So even though this is an open secret, it's not a flip of a switch. After today, all of us go home and we think we'll be delivered, right? So we have to put this into practice, and only we can do that. So individually we need to practice this for us to succeed here. So deliver means doing the right thing today, because the sense objects, the 5 senses that we have, eyes and nose and ears and tongue and the sense of touch, only proposes different things, right? Anything that is illicit or something that is forbidden, the 5 senses will propose it to the mind, but mind is the one that either accepts it or rejects it, and the actions that are followed up based on the proposals by the senses are orchestrated by the mind. So mind is the one that actually makes us do the action. So what we do today will be impacted tomorrow and beyond. So it's very important that we follow the dictates of the mind, which is in this pure consciousness, so that we either we are successful and tomorrow and beyond, not we are in trouble. So that's important. So how do we deliver ourselves is constant practicing, doing the right actions today so that we get the right reward tomorrow. So what we sow, so shall we reap. So what we do today is what you will be impacted with tomorrow. So short-term pain, long-term gain, right? So if you are able to tolerate certain things today, so it's a long-term gain, and that is called as short-term pain, and long-term gain is called as shreyas, and short-term gain, long-term pain is called as prayas. So again, we should be aiming for shreyas. Short-term pain is what we should be hoping for, even though it's not pain all the time. It's more of austerity. So delivering again means doing the right actions today with the help of the mind, so that the senses follow the mind, which is purified, so that we have a better future tomorrow and beyond as well. So degrade is opposite to that of deliverance. So again, it has to be done with the help of the mind. So it doesn't say, Krishna does not say here, it has to be done with the help of eyes, with the help of nose, hands, legs, etc. So he says with the help of the mind, because the leader of the senses is the mind. So we have eyes, nose, ear, tongue, what we just mentioned. The leader of the senses is the mind. So that here Krishna says one must deliver himself, must. So there's no choice. You must deliver yourself with the help of the mind, not with the help of any other sense organs, but specifically with the leader of the sense organs, which is mind. And again, with the help, what does that mean? So you may have seen wild elephants getting trained. Once they are trained, so they're very difficult to train, but once they are trained, it's a little boy who's sitting on this wild elephant with a little stick. Even if he beats the elephant with that stick, the elephant will not even, feel anything. It'll be like a flower petal dropping on this elephant. But still, the elephant obeys the order, because with the help of the elephant, the boy has trained, or the elephant has been trained. So similarly here, with the help of the mind, so again it could be a bulldog that somebody is trying to train as well, right? So if you are punishing the dog or the elephant all the time, then you will not be able to get them to where you want them to be. So therefore, one must deliver himself with the help of the mind, right? So it's a gradual process and progress. You need to have patience. If the mind goes somewhere, bring it back. So Krishna explains that in the 6th chapter as well. And do not degrade himself. So the mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and is enemy as well. So the mind is the friend of the conditioned soul. Conditioned soul, what is a conditioned soul? So we are all souls. Soul is pure. But then because it's encaged, Srila Prabhupada explains, in this temporary material body, so we identify ourselves with this, I'm American, I'm an Indian, etc. And then I'm so-and-so, I'm a manager, I'm a lawyer, etc. Right? So, and again, we are impacted by the karmic reaction. So all these, and we have desires within us as well. So those are all the characteristics of conditioned soul. So here it says the mind is the friend as well as the enemy. What does that mean? It can be both, which means the mind is neutral. So we have cups, right? So we have cups. In a cup, is the cup good or bad? Anybody? Is the cup that you drink? Is neither, right? So you can pour poison in that, or you can pour nice nectar in that. A knife, is it good or bad? It's again neutral. A knife in a surgeon's hand can help cut the cancerous growth, and in the hands of a terrorist it can kill somebody. So the knife is neutral, the cup can be neutral. A projector, we always have projector here for Srimad Bhagavatam class. Can it be good or bad? It is neutral. You can put devotional presentations like we do, or it can be for any other use as well, right? Like how to make a bomb. It can be a presentation where others can learn from it. So the projector by itself is neither good or bad, but it's neutral. Similarly, the mind is neither good or bad. It's what you put in and how we move it around in our day-to-day activities. How we practice that is what the end result, right? So again, can a ship be good or bad? Again, it's neutral. No, if it is not, it's got a problem like Titanic, so it'll go down. But it can be like a good ship that can take you to a different destination as well. So again, this mind is neither bad or good, but it is neutral, like these day-to-day examples that we have looked at. A car, similarly, a musical instrument. You can play a wonderful kirtan with a musical instrument, but somebody who does not know how to play, bad sounds come from it, right? So again, it's nothing to do with the instrument, but it's beyond that as well. So mind is also neutral. So it is said in our native Indian, North American Red Indian, there is a common saying that it says, within us there are two dogs. One dog is a bad dog and one dog is a good dog. So one dog, which is a bad dog, is after this lust, anger, envy, pride, illusion, etc. And the good dog is one that has got patience, benevolence, charity, no fear, etc. So now, which dog is more powerful? The dog that you feed. So which means if you are thinking of lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, and illusion, the bad dog becomes very strong and it overpowers the good dog. But if you do the opposite to the good dog, then the bad dog gets overpowered. So again, the mind is also like that, like a human being. A human being can be a saint or a terrorist as well, right? So it's what we are influenced with. So similarly, that type of training is needed to train the mind as well, so that we get delivered and not degraded with this mind. So when you think about it, there are two futures that are determined by the mind. One is
intellect.
One is
Intelligence.
intelligence is higher than the mind according to Bhagavd Gita. So you have good intelligence, so the mind is working well. So important for the mind to be trained properly with you have the soul, then you have the intelligence, then you have the mind, and then the senses and the material body. But you get two types of future by the mind. Future, F-U-T-U-R-E, right? What is that? One is the immediate future. So the actions that we do today, and we dictate how the senses should follow or not follow, then our immediate future is good. So tomorrow is a better day because of the actions that we took today. Is that a fair statement? What we do today will determine what is going to be the reaction tomorrow and beyond. Okay? If you have to steal today, let's go and steal, then we are going to have the punishment tomorrow and beyond. If we do the right thing today, then we will have the good things tomorrow. Let's not get angry. If you're in angry mood, if you want to respond to an email, hold back, don't do that, right? So then there is less of a problem tomorrow. So similarly, that's the short-term gain of controlling the mind, right? So there is a immediate good future, and also there is the eternal future because of the mind. Anybody can think of a verse where eternal future is determined because of the mind? I'll give you a clue. Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter. One more clue. 5th verse. Antakale cha mameva smaran mukva karevaram. So here Krishna says at the time of death, right? At the time of one person about to die, at that time if he thinks of Lord Krishna, then he is got no more birth, death, old age, disease. He's going back home, back to Godhead. So this mind is so important that for us to live peacefully now, today, tomorrow, and beyond, till we die, And also, at the time of death, because of the mind, we will be able to go to the destination that we want, right? Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhav 8.6, it says, whatever state of mind that you're thinking of, you will go. So if you're thinking of, a dog or a cat at that time, guaranteed we'll go. Nothing wrong with that, because that's the process, how it is set up, right? So again, so here we have two futures because of the mind. One is the immediate future based on the actions that we take today, which is going to have an impact tomorrow and beyond in our material life. And the long term or the eternal future is what happens at the time of death, when we are able to think of Lord. So we become an associate of the Lord, or no more birth, death, old age, and disease. So that is this beautiful verse. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and is enemy as well. So when you heard the purport, beautiful purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada refers an Upanishad called Amrita Bindu Upanishad. Right? So for those who were reading it, you would have noticed right at the end of this purport, there is Amrita Bindu Upanishad. So we have 4 Vedas. So I just wanted to give you some background about Upanishad. What is Upanishad? Right? So we have 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda. Right? With it, so these are there are 4 sections of each of the Vedas. So if you take one Veda, there are 4 sections. One is called Samhita, second one is called as Brahmana, and the third one is called Aranyaka, and the fourth is Upanishad. These are the 4 layers of every Veda. So you would have heard of Satapatha Brahmana, Taittiriya Upanishad, etc. So many Upanishads are there, many Brahmanas, Aranyakas are connected to each one of those Vedas. So basically, so you have Samhita. Samhita means they are prayers. Then Brahmana means they are practicals of these prayers, like Yajna, fire sacrifice, etc. Then you have Aranyaka. Aranyaka is deliberation. And then the 4th is Upanishad. Upanishad means your realization. So those, in my little my own words I'm giving it, right? So those are the 4 sections of Vedas, and they are, let me see if you are listening. What are the 4 sections of Vedas? Samhita, Brahmana, then the third is Aranyaka, because it is done in Aranyaka, like it's forest, right? So that's where they learn Aranyaka, and the 4th one is Upanishad. So in this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada is teaching us about Amrita Bindu Upanishad. That's a beautiful verse because it aligns with this particular translation of 6.5, right? So it clearly says, for man, mind is the cause of bondage and mind is the cause of liberation. So again, it aligns perfectly with this 6.5 verse. So this Amrita Bindu, what does Amrita means? Amrit means nectar. So we have the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where the churning of ocean of milk, and then eventually nectar came. So it gives immortality, right? Not literally immortality, but then they live for many years, right? Devatas took that and they live for many years. So Amrit is that gives you immortality, and Bindu is a drop. So this Amrita Bindu Upanishad is connected with Atharva Veda, and there are only 22 verses. So it's relatively speaking, it's like Isha Upanishad, very small Upanishad, right? So it's got only 22 verses, and even though it's considered to be a drop in the nectar of ocean of mantras and scriptures are there, 108 principal Upanishads are there, but you take any one of the drop, it represents the whole ocean of nectar, and that will give us the desired result, which is liberation. So in this, it says for a man, mind is the cause of bondage and mind is the cause of liberation, according to this Amrita Bindu Upanishad. So there are many Upanishads, as you just heard, Isha Upanishad, then we have Hayagriva Upanishad, Surya Upanishad, many Upanishads, and then we have done some fire sacrifices, chanting some Upanishad mantras as well. So this is a fascinating verse. Then some of you who are from South India may have heard of a great personality by the name of Thirumoolar. Anybody? So Thirumoolar. So he has penned down Thirumantiram. Thirumantiram is about 3,000 verses. So this Thirumoolar actually lived in the Himalayas, and then he came to South India to meet Agastya Muni. Agastya Muni is another glowing personality. When you read Ramayana, you'll know that he is the one who at the vital time gave Aditya Hridayam to Lord Ram, and that tilted in favor of Ram, and then he defeated. Again, it's a play, but Agastya Muni is such a fascinating personality. He appears very frequently in Ramayana as well. So here, Tirumular, his name was not Tirumular at that point in time. So he came to South India to meet Agastya Muni. On his way, he saw the cows were all crying because the cowherd man who was taking care of the cows had died. He died. So that the cows were crying because the person who was taking care of them had died. So Tirumular, at the time his name was something else, so he decided, he's a mystic. So he entered the body of this dead cowherd man, and then he took care of the cows. He wanted to do that for a while till the cows settled down. But he mystically, by the divine arrangement, his body was no longer there for him to go back to his own body. So he got stuck with this body, and his name became Thiru. Thiru means holy, and then Moolar, so the person whose body he entered to. So that is Tirumular. And then it is said that he lived for thousands of years. Again, this happened it is said 1,500 years ago, but some texts put that he was living much longer, because it took 3,000 years for him to pen down these 3,000 verses as well, right? So there are 3,000 verses. So one of the verse, again, why I am bringing that is again relevant to this particular verse that we are reading, 6.5, where he said, there are 5 cows that are going everywhere, because he was a cowherd man, right? Because he took the body of the Moolar and he became Tirumular. There are 5 cows that are going everywhere, and nobody can get the milk from them. But if there is an expert cowherd man, then it gives you abundant milk. You can get abundant milk from these cows. So what is he referencing this to? The 5 senses, right? So the 5 senses, eyes, nose, tongue, ears, and the sense of touch. So if you are able to control them, you can get the best. Because of that, we'll be able to go back home, back to Godhead as well. So this beautiful Amrita Bindu Upanishad that Srila Prabhupada is quoting, as well as this Tirumular's Tirumandiram verse as well about the 5 cows and how we can benefit from it, is very, very relevant to this particular verse that we are reading today. And so let's, in the next little while, we'll try to hear about the mind. All of us have a mind, and we have some problems with the mind, and how we can make our mind the best friend, right? So that's what it says. We should be able to deliver ourselves with the help of the mind. So one universal principle, or we know, is that the mind propels us towards, prohibited actions. Is that a fair statement?
Suicide.
Sorry?
Suicide.
It can be suicide. It can also be something that is illicit, that is attractive, that we fall for it. So mind propels us towards things that are not good. So Bhagavad Gita 2. Again, the answers are there. Bhagavad Gita 2.59, Krishna says, Param Drishtva Nivartate. So if you have the higher taste, then the higher taste overpowers the lesser taste. For example, you can think, a child is there, and let's say somebody is watching TV, let's say a devotional program on TV. And then the child is pulling the remote and then changing the channel, and the father is getting upset. So if you give the child a thing that is much better than the remote is not fun for the child, but then if you give them a balloon or something that makes a lot of squeaky noise, so the child is now attracted to this one rather than the remote one. So that is how our acharyas explain our mind works as well. So when you have the higher taste, then the lower taste automatically vanishes away. And the other urge of the mind, what does the mind do, is that mind will tell you, do it now, do it now, do it now. So we're going shopping, for example, right? So you go to whatever mall, and then there is something that is there which is, let's say, $2,000 worth. You're desperate to get it, but if you postpone that, at that point in time, you were urged to go to that store to get what you want, which you don't need it, but you're pushing yourself to get it. And let's say it's a mistake that you will do according to individual's finances. It is said that if you delay the inevitable, things will change. the desire will get suppressed in due course. Tomorrow you may not have the same desire as you have today. So same thing when you're going to a mall, you get attracted. Just postpone that, and it might not even happen. Right? So that's one way to avoid indulgence that are coming from your mind. So that is how you can make your mind your friend. And it can also be for those of you who are into financials and stock market. Something goes down, oh, let me sell it, and then it goes up again, right? So just hold back what your mind says, hold back, right? So don't rush into doing what you want. Somebody sends you an email and you're not happy with it. Somebody calls you and you really have this urge to again call him and in that angry mood and talk to that person or send an email. Don't do that. Just postpone it. Say some Hare Krishna Mahamantra, walk away from that situation of yours. Only you can do that, and then that bad impact will not even happen. Just postpone that bad decision that you want to make. So again, these are all some of the tips that our acharyas are giving, not in exactly the same examples that I'm giving, but similar to that. So again, mind will want us to be attracted to illicit things, but how we can postpone it, right? So there's a beautiful story. So you may have heard it. So there is a person who was put to death by the king, and this person is about to be hung, and the king is asking him, what is your last wish? So he says, my only wish is, I wish I have time to make your horse fly. So this person who's about to die today, he says, I have one wish. He's not asking for wealth, he's not asking for anything. He's saying, I wish I can make your horse fly. And that's a favorite horse of the king. And so the king is slightly, taken aback, but also he's interested. He knows it's impossible, but he wants to give a chance. So he says, okay, I will give you 1 year time. Not only that, you're not going to be put to death, but also you don't have to be in the prison. You can go home every day, come back with whatever techniques you have, and you need to train the horse. We're not going to see what you're going to do on an everyday basis, but at the end of the year, we want to make sure that the horse will fly. So he's so happy, he's released from the prison. Forget about the prison, he's getting a life, new lease of life he's got, and he goes home. And his wife, you're back here, I'm so happy to see you here. What happened? Well, I was asked what is my last wish, and I said I want to make the king's horse fly. So the wife said, what nonsense is this? How can a horse fly? You're going to be killed in 361 years, you're going to be killed. Why did you come up with this? And then he says, 1 year, 365 days is so far away. So many things can happen. The king may die. A new king will come and then he will come up with new rules. Or this king may be defeated by another king from the neighboring land. He may come and defeat this king and the rules may change. Who knows, the horse may die. Right? And the best of all is, who knows, maybe after a year, maybe the horse may fly also. Right? So many things can change by time, because of time. So again, if we are able to control that urge of what we want to do, whether it's an expensive purchase or whatever it is, if we postpone that, the intensity goes away the next day. So that's one of the techniques that is taught to us as to how to control the mind. So again, the mind will normally do certain things, but if you do even the opposite of what our mind has been telling us, then it's a step in the right direction where we can deliver ourselves with the help of the mind. So one is, the mind will propel us toward something that is illicit. So one is higher taste, child will like lollipop, but as we grow up, we may like gulab jamun, right? So it's a higher taste than what we were used to before. Like the child may be attracted to the remote, but then you give a balloon or a toy, the child will be going to the higher taste. And then delay, as the example that we saw. The second example that we can think of is any setback. All of us will have to go through setbacks, right? So any setback, the mind will tell you it's an unavoidable situation, no coming back, we are done and dusted, right? Normally the mind tells us you are finished. It's not a detour, but it is a hard stop, right? So you can't go beyond that. So that's typically what the mind tells us. But again, there's a beautiful story as well. Maybe with stories we'll hear some stories so that we'll be able to comprehend this well. So you may have heard this as well. So there is this donkey, very old donkey. That very old donkey was maintained by a very old farmer. There is a deep well, and that well has got no water, it's completely dark. One fine night, the donkey was walking, fell inside this deep well. And the donkey was praying, crying. Nobody can take him out. Who can take him out? This is in a remote village. It's not like a crane can go take him. It costs money. This man is old, doesn't have money. It's a donkey that is of no use to this farmer now. So what he thought was, you know what? Anyway, this donkey is useless to me. He has to, anyway, he's about to die anyway. So let him die. And I also want to close this well, so that others don't fall. So he calls all his friends, hey, come on, here is the shovel. So take the sand and shovel it into that well, so that you completely cover the well, so that nobody will fall into it. It's 2 in 1, and also the donkey will be buried inside. It's a useless donkey. So in the night they are shoveling, unfortunate, they're putting one after the other, they're shoveling. So many people are shoveling the sand and dirt and putting it on that. Mystically, the donkey is shouting because it's falling on his head. But slowly, little by little, he's keeping his legs on top of the sand. More sand falls. So eventually, he comes up and he walks away brave. So again, life also throws us so much of sand and dust and negativity on us, right? So we just have to shake it up and take one step higher, right? So again, setbacks are setups for us to succeed, right? So the setbacks are set up for us, right? So anything that one door closes, actually another door opens. So let's remember this. This is not just a story. We have seen it in our life too. You might think, oh my God, the job is gone, but there is a better job. There may have been a bigger problem there. Now it's no problem. So again, setbacks are setups for future comebacks for all of us. So again, this is a very nice, like sometimes we have to go back, right? Sometimes we want to go forward, but we have to go back. But it's not the end. How does the arrow work? How many of you have seen an arrow, bow and arrow? So more you pull it back, what happens? More it goes forward. Even a trigger, right? You have seen rifle shooting, etc. So you pull the trigger back and the bullet goes forward. Aeroplane, what happens? Have you ever seen an aeroplane? When you get into the aeroplane, what happens? First is it goes forward or back before it takes off. Always back. Even in your car park, right? So you take your car back and then you go. For those of you who are young, in India you would have used catapult, right? You know catapult? So you put the stone here. What do? More back, then it goes forward, right? If you're following sports, now there's so much of sports going on, soccer, etc. Even for soccer, Messi scoring so many goals. You see, he's a magician, but if you want the ball to go forward, your leg has to go back more. If you want to hit a sixer in cricket, what happens? Bat swing has to be much higher. Home run in baseball, higher, right? So more back, more forward you go. So even a springboard, you have seen in Olympic springboard, right? So you go down, jump, go down more, you go higher and further as well. So setbacks are actually setups for us to make comebacks. And also sometimes we go through challenges in life, right? So how does the wrinkle go away in your beautiful linen sari or shirt? How does the wrinkle go away? You gently press it with your hand, it will go away? No, what you have to do? Hot iron on top, right? The temporary, discomfort, let's assume it is there for the shirt. So, but then beautiful wrinkle-free shirt is there. How do you get the beautiful rainbow? If there is no rain, do you get rainbow? You have to put up with that rain and then you see this beautiful rainbow. A lot of children are here, so you go for inoculation, right? So it's pain. Getting an injection, is it a pleasure thing? That momentary pain is there, but then there's no problem, malaria and anything else that you're getting inoculated to. So the second, another characteristic of the mind is it sort of exaggerates or magnifies the problem, right? So that you have seen, right? So you have a lens. If you take a lens and if you keep the sunlight, you keep on focusing, what happens? The paper burns, right? So it's not good to have too much of focus on something, especially when we are angry with someone else, right? It'll just burn us, in this case, not the paper. So mind actually exaggerates. Again, we take another, like a blotting paper. Nowadays, I don't think so it's common, but for those of you a little older, you know a blotting paper. So when there is ink that is spilled, you put that, it becomes big, or you put water in that, the small paper becomes big, right? So the mind exaggerates. Have you seen a prism? If you put a prism in the light, it just gives us 7 different colors of light. It exaggerates or brings forth more. So here, an example is, there was an old Mataji, she went to a doctor. My dear doctor, my whole body is paining. Everywhere it's paining. So the doctor said, okay, point and touch the different parts of your body and tell me if it's paining. She said, okay. So she puts her finger like this and he says, okay, touch your ear and tell me if it's paining. It's paining. Okay, what about the other ear? Oh, it's paining. What about the eyes? Oh, too much pain. Head, too much pain. Heart, too much pain. Then the doctor says, my dear nurse, put a bandage in the finger of this person. The problem was here, not anywhere else, right? So we always think the whole world is a problem, but problem could be with us, right? So again, mind always exaggerates. This is actually, it is said that it's a true story where there was a person who got locked inside a freezer. The freezer was cold, okay, and he was worried about it the whole night. Next day morning, actually was found frozen to death. And they also mystically found out it was not even switched on. So again, the whole night he's thinking about, oh, this is so cold, I'm going to freeze to death, and it actually happened. Right? So the mind always exaggerates. And mind also inflates our ego. So we think that we are better, we are the best in what we are doing, and that's a big problem. So those of you have seen a beautiful cliff, mountain cliff. Can the cliff of the mountain store any water? Rain is falling on top of the peak. Can it store any water? Whereas the valley, or it can be a ditch, the ditch will always store the water when it's needed for animals, etc. Right? Even for us to drink, it is all in a valley, in a lower level position where the water is stored, right? So if you have an empty hand, we can receive more, right? So if we don't have this ego, we can receive more. There was a person who went to learn violin. So he goes to the teacher and he says, how much is it to teach me? He says, $100. Well, I know to play many of these tunes and keys. I know whatever it is, I know to play. He said, then sorry sir, it's not $100, it's $200. What? You said to teach me violin it's $100, but I said I know a little bit of violin and you're telling me it's $200? Yeah, I have to unteach what you taught yourself wrongly, right? So again, ego, right? So we think we know everything more. And you see a tree that has got full of fruits will be bending more. It will be more humble than a barren tree which will stand stiff, right? So another one is that the mind will always, we have a few more minutes, the mind will give you limitation. So this is an experiment, right? So it will tell you, oh, you cannot get this initiation because you're not good enough, or you cannot get this salary in this job beyond this X amount of dollar because you're not good enough, etc. The mind will always create a limitation. So this is an example that was done, experiment. There's an aquarium. All of you know what is an aquarium, right? Like it's, let's say, a glass of water where there are fishes. So they put a temporary glass separation in the middle of the aquarium. Okay? This is the aquarium size. They put a temporary glass which is transparent. So the fish is coming, it's swimming from here to here all the time, but because of this barrier in between, because it's transparent, the fish comes, hits that, goes away, hits, and is paying for the fish. So he tries again and again to go to its regular path of back and forth. He gets hit every time. Then he learns his lesson. He goes, doesn't hit, goes back. So he takes 50% of the route only. Comes back, goes, comes, goes. Then they took this invisible glass away. And guess what? The fish, based on the past conditioning, will come halfway, go back, halfway, go back, halfway, go back. Even though the barrier is not external, but the barrier is mental, internal, right? So again, this is another way that our mind operates. Again, we are reading from 6.5 for those of you who joined us. One must deliver himself with the help of the mind and not degrade himself. The mind is a friend of the conditioned soul and its enemy as well. So maybe we look at one more characteristic of the mind. So mind always plays specific channels. Mind plays the same channel again and again, and it is said 90% of what we always think is repetitive thoughts. Okay, 90% of what we think is always repetitive, and 80%, give or take 1 or 2%, but it's more or less right. So 80% are negative thoughts. Okay, 90% are repetitive thoughts, and out of that 80 plus percentage is always negative. Oh, defeat channel, right? Defeat channel. You cannot do this. You always have bad luck channel. All these are negative channels that always comes. So don't have a pity party. You know what is a pity party? Get all your like-minded friends. Oh, this has happened to me all the time. Yeah, this is wrong. He's wrong, right? Pity party is not going to help us. So what we have, the good news is we have the channel. We have the remote control. We have the remote control to change the channel to I can do it. Faith channel, God will help me, right? So we need to change that. So algorithm, you've heard of algorithm? Algorithm means, so this was recent, right? I was in Spain and I was looking for a universal adapter to buy. So I checked for universal adapter, and 5 minutes later, totally I wanted to check something else during my break, of course, my work break. And then I'm looking at Best Buy, or similar to Best Buy that they don't have Best Buy in Europe. I checked there, all I'm seeing is adapter advertisements coming. I didn't even go to these websites to check all adapter because it's algorithm, right? It knows, right? It's also type ahead feature is there. If you went to some click info, for example, next time you go CRI, it will type ahead for you. Like that, the mind will always go to this negative, repeated channel. So you have the remote control. Let's change that so that we don't deepen the path that the mind is always going. Right? So these are some of the ways that we can, train our mind to be our best friend. So in the last few minutes, again, for those of you who joined us late, today we are celebrating Pani Hati Chida Dadi or Dahi Mahotsav. So here Pani Hati is 20 kilometers north of Calcutta, and Chida is nothing but chipped rice, and it's also called as poha. So what happened 510 years ago was that there was a grand festival. So Raghunath Das Goswami, you heard, there are 6 Goswamis. So Goswami, this is not like a last name for somebody like Arnab Goswami. No, we're talking about real Goswami. That means he's a master of the senses, right? So here, by the way, Chaitanya Charitamrita says that his father and uncle were one of the richest in the whole world at that time, 510 years ago. So I did some calculations. Chaitanya Charitamrita says their annual income was 12 lakh gold coins. What does it mean? Not much, we don't know what it means. But if you do the calculation, believe it or not, it comes to their annual income 510 years ago was 2 billion Canadian dollars. I did this in Canadian dollars, so that is not in any kind that we all. It's B, not M for million, it's B for billion, 500 years ago. So, unbelievably rich. So he did not want, again, controlling his mind, not attracted to the sense gratification. He wanted to leave everything and join Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Finally, he met Nityananda Prabhu in Panyati, which is 20 kilometers north of Calcutta. And then from distance, he offered obeisances. Nityananda Prabhu saw, oh, you're a thief. You're doing it in, secretively you are offering obeisances. Come here. And he said, I want you to conduct this festival. Have this chipped rice festival. So it's soaked in condensed milk, soaked in yogurt, all these wonderful ripe bananas and other fruits are there and sweets are there. So everybody got 2 earthen pots, and then it was a beautiful celebration in that part of West Bengal. And it is said at that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was 500 kilometers away in Jagannath Puri. But Nityananda Prabhu in meditation invited him, and he came instantly and he took part in this celebration as well. And that's what we are celebrating today at ISKCON Scarborough. Not only in ISKCON Scarborough, in all the Vaishnava temples yesterday, because yesterday was the actual anniversary. And one more thing I want to just conclude this with. Tomorrow, actually, it is the disappearance day of 2 great Vaishnava Acharyas as well. Anybody remembers? Anybody can think of? We're almost there. Anybody? So one is Mukunda Datta, he's a great singer and he's a classmate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was upset with him and he said, Next time you're going to see me is after millions of birth. Instead of being dejected, like normally the mind will say, oh, you're done, you can't see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who's living right now, but you can't see him. He was so happy. He jumped up and down. I'm going to see you sometime in the future. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hugged him and he was always with him. And he was the person who introduced Gadadhar Pandit to Pundarik Vidyanidhi. I don't want to go too deep into it, but again, Pundarik Vidyanidhi is a great Vaishnava, but then he looked very opulent and he looked like a materialistic person, eating pan and got the sandalwood in his oil, and he looked so fabulous with all the people. He's got a spittoon that is made, spittoon? They spit, right? He's got a spittoon that is made of gold with diamonds and everything else. So he lived a great life, and it looked like it when Mukunda Datta brought Gadadhar Pandit. Gadadhar Pandit is who? Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srimati Radharani in one way, expansion. So when he sees this person, he says, he's not saying, he's thinking, what sort of materialistic person that Mukunda Datta would want me to come and meet him? And then Mukunda Datta really knew what he was thinking, and then he chanted this famous verse, 3:2:23 from Srimad Bhagavatam. Aho bakiyam stanakala jigam sayaya yayadapi yasadvi lebe gatinda trichutam tatonyam kamba dayalum sharanam vrajema. Who can be more merciful than the person who offered the role of a nurse to Putana, who came to kill Lord Krishna? So when he heard this, he started tearing out everything, and then Gadadhar Pandit know what an exalted person is. Again, the lesson is, don't judge the book by the cover either way, right? Don't judge the book by the cover. So, 2 ways to control our mind, that's the verse that we were reading. So one is, we can do the pranayam. So Srimad Bhagavatam explains, puraka, inhalation, then you have holding of the breath, and then richaka, kumbhaka, and then richaka. So that is one, we are not going to go through that. So breath control controls the mind, and mind controls the senses. And the second way is chanting the holy names of the Lord. And this beautiful verse is there from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes, Prabhu. Oh, okay. So as we are getting ready, so today 12 pots are available. So there are a total of 12 pots. We heard about this wonderful pastime that we are celebrating today. It's the 510th or 511th anniversary. Actually, yesterday we are celebrating today. So 12 pots are available, and sponsorship is available. So you will get to take home the pots, and it is decorated pots, and it's only $25 per pot, and it's already offered. So it's prasad, Mahaprasad, that you're going to take it home. So it's a beautiful day to take that, and it's very inexpensive. And there is also only one big pot available. Okay, so for one lucky devotee, only one big pot. And please see Prabhu here, Ganapati Prabhu. So it's only $51 for that one pot. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande. Hare Hare Krishna.